And I do believe we are live. So I would like to welcome everybody to the Take a Stand live conference. This event is running over 4 days. And these are live interviews that I am hosting predominantly on YouTube. So you're going to hear 35 incredible stories of women's unique experiences of living with trauma, which has been created by some form of abuse that has happened in their lives. It's how they have triumphed and overcome the difficulties it is that they have faced. That's to inspire you to know that you can also take a stand. And when we say take a stand, we don't necessarily mean take a stand against other people. We mean take a stand for ourselves, take responsibility for ourselves, because once you can take responsibility for yourself, then you can start to change things going on in your external world. But we do need your help. If you enjoy the stories, listening to everybody, please do consider subscribing to the channel. Please hit the notification bell and give us a thumbs up. And if you can think of somebody in your network who is struggling with some emotions they've got bubbling up to the surface that they're finding tricky to deal with right now, and you've heard a speaker and that really resonates with you or could help them, please do share this video with them, because you never know, it just could be life-changing. So I'm very excited to introduce Dr. Bridget, who I have known for some time. So welcome, Bridget.
Hello, how are you?
Is that your dog? And it's the neighbour's dog.
All right.
No, it's the neighbour's dog. And because I'm in rural Thailand, you may hear other strange noises that I actually don't know what they are. But I know that you have recently treated yourself to a beautiful, beautiful, was it a spaniel puppy?
Yeah, Springer Spaniel. Yeah, he's 16 weeks. He's called Fletch. So I'm sort of tuned into barking at the moment. And he's bringing a lot of joy, which is, you know, I'm always looking for joy. So he's bringing a lot of joy.
Yeah, if we could live in more joy, the world would be a much happier place right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, Bridget, tell me, can you share just a snippet of a story? You don't have to go into, obviously, the details, but a story or a couple of stories as an example of triumph over trauma.
Yeah, it was really interesting doing this summit, because I sometimes think, because I work with people who've had quite a lot of trauma and some quite serious trauma, that, you know, maybe mine is sort of like, I think that's where it isn't worth sort of who am I to be talking about it, because actually most of my traumas have been sort of quite small, but they've added up. And I guess my trauma started probably when I was about 7, when I was bitten in the school playground by my sister. Told my mum, she didn't believe me. It's not major. And it all went a bit wrong. Then when I was 11, I passed my 11 plus, and my dad said to me, you know, don't tell anyone when you've done well, because you might upset your sister. And obviously doing the best he can for my sister. And then, you know, as I sort of grew up, and, you know, I've been through 2 marriages now, it was all about, you know, were there people on my side? Could I say what I wanted? Could I actually be assertive? So when I started my business about 12 years ago, could I stand up in a networking event and say I'd done well? I've got 2 children, and when my mum died, they sort of almost sat me down and had a chat and said, we don't feel really close to you. And when you were married to their dad, you know, it wasn't very good for us. And, you know, that I was the adult and they were the child. And so that was a bit traumatic as well. And then, you know, having gone through 2 marriages, set up a business, sometimes being in business is a bit traumatic because you get your sort of ups and downs, don't you? And, now with a new partner and, wondering, is someone on my side? And, what are my values about a relationship? What are my values about, connections with other people? And so all of those things have sort of led into me thinking, can I say what I want? Can I trust people? Can I communicate effectively with people? And I know I can because I have a successful business, but it's this unconscious sort of triggers sometimes happen. I think all the things that have happened to me and all the training that I've done in NLP and all the training I now do with people and work I do with people on their traumas made me super aware. So it's almost like it is sort of just a story now, and it is something that doesn't really hugely affect me emotionally. But then if something new happens, or I get I don't know, something happens and I feel a bit on my own, then I do go back to it still. And while it's an awful lot better than it was, it is still there. And I'm constantly working on it. So I guess I really wanted people to know that it doesn't have to be big things. It can just be little things that all sort of pile up, and you end up living your life perhaps avoiding things rather than heading towards what you really want. And I'm a big joy seeker, but occasionally that sort of trauma and small traumas, I guess, they do still affect me and stop me from living my life to the full. So yeah, I think lots of little traumas, lots of realizations, lots of self-awareness, lots of work on myself, and feeling generally okay, but it still creeps in. So I really wanted to say that to people. It doesn't have to be huge domestic violence, sexual abuse, whatever. It can be really quite small things that you program into your mind that we can help you to take out. And it's just interesting.
Yeah. I think you're absolutely right. Trauma's imprint. It's how your experience leaves that imprint, isn't it? It's like how, whatever it is, like your sister biting you, that's left an imprint. You've changed your behavior shaped around that experience because of how your parents have reacted to also telling. So from that point, you then shape and make decisions based from that experience until you realize that, oh, that's why I behave and think the way I do. So every little thing that creates an imprint like that is as significant as some of the other bigger things. It's just I think we have a tendency, or I've seen it a lot, that people have a tendency to play trauma down. So like, oh, well, it's not as bad as her, or it's not as bad as him, or it's not as bad as that story, but it's still relevant and it's still significant, and it still has an impact of whether you either go right or whether you go left.
Yes.
Whether you make a conscious decision to go one way or just keep going on automatic pilot based on that experience that you had. So I think you're absolutely right. I think what you're saying is really important, that it doesn't have to be big things. It could be lots of little things that create a story. And I always say to people, and I think you'll probably do the same, is like, how are you connecting the dots between experiences?
Yes.
How does one thing lead to the next, like a string? I think you said to me in the past, forgive me if I've got this wrong, but I remember us having a conversation about some of the work you do, and you were describing it like a string of pearls.
Yes.
And once you do this piece of work, all the pearls just melts away and drops.
It's about going back to the very root cause that's probably beyond your awareness, really, but going back with your unconscious mind to where the root cause is, and chopping that off by taking learnings, and then your unconscious and your conscious sort of meet together. Because what I find is that people consciously know what they want to do, but their unconscious mind's just keeping them safe all the time. And you can just see the patterns. I see it in myself. I see it in other people. I see it in friends, colleagues, partners. You know, and people aren't aware necessarily of how that leads to their behaviour. But I sort of see it all around, and see it in myself. And
it's also it's a weird one to get your head around, isn't it? As well, I know that in business, I would get to a point and I would get stuck, and I would be like, "Why am I not getting this? Why can I not get this?" And what I'd learned was obviously the programming, which was keeping me stuck, and why I couldn't move forward. But I just could not get my head around actually what is it that I needed to do, because my programming refused to actually even let me see how to move forward. So it's a real, even though you think you're trying really hard, the brain, it's such a sneaky, tricky operating machine. It needs to be controlled.
Because I work a lot with people in business, and because I went from being a GP to setting up my own business, then, you know, I went through all of the, I'm not good enough, you know, what's going to happen if I am successful? Who am I to be, you know, standing up here? You know, I won an award on Friday, and, you know, in the past I might have gone, who am I to get that award, or what are people going to say? And, you know, in the end, to me, it's all about, you know, because your beliefs surround your values. So when you've got beliefs that are not empowering, then that can actually lead to values which are about sort of keeping yourself safe, sort of toeing the line, security, all those sorts of things, which don't really work for people in life and in business, because it just keeps people stuck. And once you get rid of those beliefs, then it's just amazing, and you just do what you want, and go for the joy, and occasionally things creep in, but if you remind yourself about, you know, what your values are in life, so, you know, joy, fun, making a difference, you know, connection. I guess the connection one is probably snuck in somewhere from, you know, are people on my side or not? But, you know, it's just being aware, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's and, you know, making the difference for other people is huge to me. And I really should be well retired by now. And it's a belief, isn't it? But as I get older, I sort of like feel a bit more tired. But then I think, well, I do so much to help people get over these things. How could I stop? So that's one of the things that's on my mind at the moment.
What with all the work that you do, what would you, is there one thing that really sticks out to you that women really struggle with?
I was talking to someone about this yesterday, and I don't know if it's just women that struggle with it, but I think it's women sometimes find it difficult to keep their boundaries, sort of like they're always keeping people happy. They want to be balanced. They want to be who they want to be, and they're surrounded by sort of chaos and, you know, other people's values about what women should and shouldn't be doing. And I think, you know, I suppose it's about, you know, that taking a stand thing. I wrote that down. So taking a stand to be yourself and be okay with being yourself, I think is what people struggle with, and having the boundaries so that, you know, people are surrounding themselves by people that are okay with them being who they are. And I think women sometimes struggle with that. Having said that, I think men struggle with that as well, because sometimes men have sort of like roles, be out there earning, got to be out there, you know, looking successful and things. And maybe that's not really what they want to do. So I think it's across the board, but I think women probably struggle with it a bit more. I was thinking about, you know, when I work with men, they tend to be a little bit more traumatized or have left it a lot longer to come for help, because maybe men don't talk to each other about this sort of thing. So they think they're on their own and they think they're the only person, whereas women may tend to share with other women a little bit more. Which is great, isn't it? Because, you know, surrounding yourself with people who get you and are totally in your corner and being, you know, supporting each other is huge, isn't it? I think women do it maybe a bit better than men. Don't know. It's a generalization.
Yeah, they do say that, don't they? They do. I mean, yeah, for sure, it is a generalization, but.
So who would you talk to about, you know, anything that was still bubbling up with you?
So I work with a doctor because I have issues around complex trauma, and he does a lot of CBT. So it's things that I can use, like if I'm in panic, or for me, what happens is I have good years, and then I will have a couple of months where I just cannot function. I can't cope. Something will have triggered something. And I lose control of my mind. I lose control of my thoughts, and my thoughts are very difficult to, it's got better to navigate. So if I'd experienced something like that, I just book in for 6 sessions, and then I just practice the CBT techniques over a period of time, and then I find myself slowly emerging and coming out the other side. But it's not a there are lots of little things I can do to look after my emotional and mental well-being, but sometimes when I really lose the plot, I guess I need that more weekly, heavier intervention. But on a more general, I've probably given too much information away there, on a more general day-to-day, my partner, my other half, my really close friends, of which there are few, but mainly my partner, actually.
Lovely.
Yeah.
I mean, I've recently met someone who I feel I can talk to, which is nice, because I don't think I've had that before. So
yeah,
it definitely helps to have people on your side but allow you to be yourself. So that's fab.
Yeah. I mean, if I had my way, this is me in an ideal world. What I would like is like a team of people, say financial advisor, not a psychiatrist, a psychologists, you know, so I'd have a team, but that mental health person would be on my team.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't just be coach, you know, business coach. It would be something really specific for my mental and emotional well-being. You know, that's something that I've always wanted to integrate into my lifestyle.
It's like a little pod of helpful people that you can go to depending on what's going on at the time.
Yeah.
I think it's I sometimes think it's quite difficult for coaches to, you know, have those people, because most of the time we're fine and helping other people, and then just occasionally things happen and you think, you know, could really do with someone now. But it's fine, isn't it? It's part of being a coach, I think, having a coach. And
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. What are some of the things that you do to help people who are stuck in that situation to navigate, overcome, bypass? I don't know how you would describe it, so they can get back on their feet.
I think I just recently did a blog on my website called Stuck to Aligned, So I guess it's about helping people get aligned. And I think when you're stuck, you're not aware of why you're stuck. So I think one of the things that I do is to help people realize what the root cause is of, that their behavior and what they're doing, what they're feeling. And I do something called a breakthrough process where I use timeline therapy. It's an American board of NLP process which gets rid of anger, sadness, fear, hurt, and guilt, along with anything that's underneath that, and also gets rid of any limiting decisions that we have about ourselves following trauma, whether large or small. And in 2 or 3 hours, everything just drops off. I think we were talking about the string of pearls, and if you can go back and find even the pre-trauma sort of decisions or causes of the emotions, then in a content-free way, it just gets rid of them completely. And then it's just about having boundaries and making sure that you're doing what you want to do and that you're following your values. I also do something called Reconsolidation of traumatic memories, which is more for bookmarked memories, if you like. So like something happens, you have some trauma, and then it stops, and then there may be several episodes of that, but it's actually less affecting people on a long-term basis. We talked about the complex trauma and complex PTSD and how that's just sort of all gets chained together. Sometimes people just have bookmarked car crash, domestic violence. So I use something called Reconsolidation of traumatic memories, which has come from 9/11. So working with survivors of 9/11 and working with veterans in America, and it's now come over to the UK, and it's getting used in clinical settings now, and it's related to the fast phobia model or the rewind techniques, but it's just been adapted, and it's really content free, so people don't have to go near what it is that's triggering them. And I think sometimes
that's good.
And I think it's been proven to have 90 to 95% effectiveness, and certainly that's my experience. So people
that's fantastic.
Just moves the fight and flight to it being just a story. So I'm going to be expanding that a lot more for bookmarked experiences and traumas, but also carrying on doing the more complex PTSD where people can't function very well because of the events that have happened in the past, and just removing those. So it's great to do. I'm training more and more coaches, so more and more coaches to do timeline therapy, and also interacting with people that do the RTM, and just that's what my plan is over the next year, is to get people doing a bit more of it for me.
I think that's great. Well, the more people, I think one of the reasons why people get so stuck in trauma or the after effects of abuse is that there is such a gap in the market. Actually, the market's the wrong word, in terms of education. Because for me, I went to the doctor, I went into the mental health system. I didn't know there was anything else. I didn't know I could access anything else. I didn't even know it existed.
I don't think people do still, and I think
I think you're right.
That's their job, really, isn't it? And all the other people that come on is to let people know that if they want to get rid of their trauma and have it just be a story and move on and live their life to the full, then it is out there, and it's just about looking for people that can help with it.
There are more opportunities to heal and recover. I think doctors absolutely have a place, mental health system absolutely has a place, but it's also what's beyond that.
And I'm really excited for the RTM work, for veterans. I've worked with people who, have seen kids blown up in Afghanistan and, all sorts of traumas, domestic violence, and it just disappears. And
wow.
It's I think, well, if you've got those sort of abilities to do that sort of thing, then how can I retire and I just got to intersperse the joy? Well, I suppose the joy is partly enjoying every minute of every day is doing this stuff as well, because it does make a huge difference, and that's certainly one of my values. And while it's difficult maybe for people who have trauma to think of it as an enjoyable experience, it's certainly not a particularly it's not a horrible experience to have therapy with this. And once it becomes a story, people can then go off and have fun themselves, can't they, without it sort of getting triggered and not sleeping and anxiety and everything else that goes with it all.
It's the consequences are for us not resolving it. It's funny. It can create, when I think about me, it can create such internal fear, resistance, that it can be hard for people to push past that if they don't understand that actually is what they need to push past.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, it keeps you unhappy, miserable. Whereas that short a bit of pain or uncomfortable, if you push through that with the right people and get the support, then you learn that you can actually, that barrier is just a construct you've made up in your mind that isn't actually true.
No.
Which is the worst thing. All an illusion.
And people struggle with that because it's so real, isn't it, for people that all of our beliefs are not true. They're just what we've got from other people, from society. We've just adopted them and programmed them in, and then that's what creates our reality, and it doesn't have to be like that. And that's why I'm passionate about, really.
Yeah. If you had a piece of advice for your younger self, then what would it be?
Surround yourself with people who enable you to be who you want to be and support you in doing that. And it's a bit like the oxygen mask. Look after yourself, surround yourself with people, and then you can go for life. And when you're lying in your coffin and everyone's sort of going, oh, she led an amazing life and I'd love to do life like she did, then it's all about believing in yourself, being who you want to be, and surrounding yourself with like-minded people. And that's what I say.
Yeah, it fits in actually nicely with the name of the summit, doesn't it? Which is take a stand for yourself.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So I think working with kids, to anyone that works with kids, it's a huge message, isn't it, that sometimes they can't follow just because of their environment and their surroundings and what's happened to their parents, and maybe trauma from their parents that they've had handed down to them. It's huge, isn't it? But find some people that help. Help yourself. Find some people that help. Go for life.
Yeah, I love that. So put yourself first. Surround yourself with people who listen, on your team. Yeah. Any final thoughts before I close, Bridget?
No, other than there's lots of people who do what I do. Lots of people who can unhook all the chains and get rid of the traumas, and it's just about finding a way to do it, taking the plunge and going for it. That's what I say.
Move past that resistance. What I would do, sorry,
listen to the rest of the summit, get some other views as well.
What I will do, if you would like to reach out to Bridget, is I will pop her details below the video. So you will be able to learn a little bit more about what it is that she does, and also get access to her website address as well. So you'll be able to find her once the summit is open. But if you've got any questions for Bridget or myself, please pop them in the chat box below. And if you know somebody who you think this would be helpful for, please do pass it on. I'm sure they would be very grateful. Thank you very much, Bridget, for your time today. And I look forward to spending some time with you soon.
Yeah, thank you.